All right, how's everyone doing? I am Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning into the Rich CELENZA show. So, what I want to call this podcast is Why Are You So Tired? I run across a lot of people, and I would say one of the things I hear most out of their mouth is how tired they are, how exhausted they are, how they don't have any energy. And this goes for a lot of different ages. This isn't just middle-aged or elderly. I hear this out of a lot of young people. And, I just kind of think to a certain point, I don't know if we're programming our minds this way, especially during COVID, but I do think if you are constantly exhausted or you're constantly tired, you're either doing too much or I believe, truthfully, a lot of people are not doing enough. Now, that's not a dig. I know there's a ton of people out there, men and women, that have families, jobs, they have all these different types of things that they are doing throughout the week, throughout the day, getting up early, going to bed late, and just constantly doing something, which is understandable. But here's the deal, I believe. If you are somebody who is waking up exhausted and you're constantly exhausted throughout the day, if you're going to bed fried and you're waking up fried, if you're eating lunch, you're fried, what are you doing? What are you actually, I would say, doing wrong? If you continuously keep doing things that exhaust you, I don't understand the health benefits of that, for one, and what type of life you are leading. Now, if you don't have a lot of money and you have 2 or 3 jobs, and, I've been there, I'm telling you right now, and it's daunting after a while, but we do have to figure out what is going to start inspiring us and making us kind of more energetic than drained. Now, again, you may never find that, but I've had to go through that as well. Even when I had kids, even when I'm trying to make films, even when I'm trying to run a business, you're trying to do all these things. I keep talking about a lot on my podcast or even my YouTube channel, minimizing a lot of things. We keep doing things that make us do more things, which in turn makes us more tired. Right? I see this with a lot of my friends, I should say, too. They keep upping and buying a bigger home, then they keep complaining they have to take care of the home. Not only financially, but all this shit that they have to do around the house, internally and outside. Okay? Why would you keep doing that? If you're already exhausted in, say, a 3-bedroom home, and you're, an average 3-bedroom home, 2 baths, and you're already kind of at your limit, why are you going out and buying a 3,500 square foot home with 5 bedrooms or a 5,000 square foot home? Not only that, again, how much money and how much time does it take to maintain that? And I don't know if I did a podcast, but I was talking to somebody regarding this where, they keep taking on more because they want more. And at the same time, they keep feeling worse. Wouldn't you think it's time to maybe back off and say, let me take on less so I could start feeling better? But they don't look at it that way. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a programming mechanism, especially with men, more and more and more, which I was there. But I'm just telling you, and this goes for women as well. It could be even children, a lot of women, because I have a lot of family members that have a lot of kids, and we goof around. But we were just having a conversation about this at a family get-together, and they were making fun of me. Because when I was younger, I used to say regarding kids, I used to have a slogan or a saying. I used to say, 1 is fun, 2 is the blues, kind of as a joke, 3's not for me, 4 I'm out the door, and I said 5, you're a jag-off. But I see a lot of my cousins keep having more and more kids, which is wonderful. They love their families and everything. But they'll even tell you each kid changed the entire dynamic of the household. Also, it takes so much more out of them. If you're exhausted with even 1 kid, don't be afraid and say, call it a day, or 2, or 3, or whatever the case may be. Again, why are you taking on more? And a lot of times I really believe with families in this generation, because I don't see in my generation and younger, sure, they wanted bigger homes, but it wasn't like now where they're almost competing against one another. And it could not only be the boat, they got to have a summer home, then they got to have boats, then they got to have whatever they have to have. And again, some can even easily afford it. That still doesn't mean that they still have to keep up with it or keep up with doing it as well. So if you do have a summer home and you can afford it with no problem and you have a great career and you have a great workplace, and you still got to go there. You still got to go enjoy that, which is fine. But again, after doing the summer home thing, and then a lot of people still want to travel, then you're traveling. After you travel, you got to come back home. Then, you may have some other things to do. All this, if you find, again, yourself, doing or purchasing things you love, but again, doing them, it exhausting you, what is the payoff there? I see that with tons of people who travel a lot. You always hear, because I traveled a lot, but they would always be like, oh, I got to go here. I got to go there. I got to go do this. I got to do that. It's wonderful. They go do all these things. They're fried. So they'll go on a vacation for a week or 10 days, come back, and they're dead. The change of time. Sometimes they get sick. Sometimes they're just, it's just exhausting. So like you go away for 10 days and then you come back home and it takes you 2-3 weeks, like 2 weeks to recover. Again, you can do that. It's great. But you got to get a balance there. I don't care what anyone says. And just pay attention to these things. And I will wrap it up with this because a lot of times I do talk about fitness. It could be something as simple as just drinking water and starting off your day right. Energy-wise, what are you eating a lot of times in the morning? How are you starting off that day? You may be eating too big of a breakfast, something too heavy. You may not be eating enough. But just experiment. And every time you're doing something I talk about throughout the day, it's kind of setting you up for the next day. Most people don't think that way. So whatever you eat or drink at night, let's say, for instance, it could be alcohol or it could just be whatever it is, juice. It could be milk. I don't know what it is. But that is going to affect the way you feel the next day and so on. You got to look in the future. How are you going to feel? Most people only look at the here and now. Now, if you do think, hey, tomorrow I'm going to be more exhausted than today, what do you think your mindset's going to be? Or next week, I'm going to be fried. What's your mindset again? I always talk about when you wake up, you really got to wake up and start thinking you're healthy. If you start thinking that you're unhealthy, you really have to address this. Now, this isn't for somebody who's sick. That's a whole different thing. But I just thought I would do a podcast on this because I just find it quite interesting how, I do think a lot of things, for the most part, seem easier on people than ever. Especially in the household, we have dishwashers, washing machines that clean our clothes. We have microwaves. Men, it's not like we're going out and hunting for food all day and night like somebody's a lion's chasing us to kill us. Our lives actually, I think, are pretty set if you set them up the right way and use it to your advantage. But for some reason, we're kind of exhausting ourselves. And even by having a phone or computers, life actually has become a lot more easier and accessible. But it's also, we've made it a lot more daunting, if that makes sense, too. So we've exhausted ourselves with maybe over-communicating with one another. It could be text, email, phone, where before, like, you kind of, when your day was over, your day was over. No one can reach you unless you saw them personally or they called on a hard line. But again, making yourself more accessible 24 hours a day, again, like I just said, email or whatever, your mind really never shuts off. So you may be exhausted because you just don't know how to take a break from, society in general. It's just information overload. That goes for social media as well. So, and it could be even YouTube. It could be many different things. Not only are you exhausting yourself at work, at home, but you're also doing things that kind of, make you tired as well, I guess I'm trying to say. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up there. You get a chance, check out my YouTube channel. It's Rich CELENZA. And you can find it all at my website, richcelenza.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And that's all I got for you today. Any questions or comments, hit me up. Take care.